allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first thing on the agenda is approval of minutes. The April 5th regular monthly minutes. Do I have a motion?
Move we approve the minutes of April 5th.
Second.
Discussion.
I have one very minor change, page 5, third line. It says you must be filtered at through the water treatment plant. I think it should just be at the water treatment plant.
No further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, special meeting of April 11th.
Motion to approve the minutes for Monday, April 11th, 2016.
Second.
Discussion.
On the third point, I think the wording should say, Kate Mosley noted it will save interest costs for the school. We want to add interest costs for the. You see what?
Yep, no, that makes sense.
Other than that, it's.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, special meeting of April 12th. Motion?
We approve the minutes presented for April 12th.
I'll second it. Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Abstain is absent.
It's passed. And the April 13th minutes, special meeting. I'll make a motion to accept. No? When we awarded the contract.
I just don't have that.
Oh.
Did you make a motion?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, absent.
Okay, Chamber of Commerce, we're into correspondence. We're having the 28th Annual Golf Invitational, I'll post it. Anybody that plays golf, it's on June 15th, 2016, at Quintessa Country Club. That might be interesting, I've never played Quintessa. So I will post that. Another thing is from, let's see, Fallon Health, let's see.
Oh, Farrington Hospital.
Yep, I believe you all got one.
Yep.
So, has to do with Harrington Hospital. Okay, in correspondence, I have a letter of resignation from Tina Fox, who's our secretary, dated April 18th, 2016. That she resigned the job in the selectman's office immediately, and you have a copy of that. And with that, I did.
You want to make a motion on it?
No, just correspondence.
Do you want to accept that?
We don't have a choice but to accept it, it's a resignation.
Accept with regret, perhaps?
Yeah. And I will touch on that on some of my comments on the selectmen's comments. I did, with you on that, did leave you a copy of the job description for that position. If you think of any changes, please notify Marie so she can add to that. Okay, this one might be of interest to you, Steve. You have a copy of it. It's 67th Annual Connecticut Armed Forces Day Luncheon in Hartford. The AquaTurf. So I know you do have that. Some literature from the Labor Department. Good reading. Read that at your leisure. Okay, I do have some correspondence. I will read this and make it very, very brief. This is in response to correspondence from our last meeting from Mr. Slater's record, letter that you read in. So this one here is in response, because Shana did reach out to the town attorney. Dated today, April 19th, dear First Selectman Ken Beausoleil and members of the board, I was copied in the above referenced letter. In this letter, Mr. Slater requested that the Board of Selectmen take action to inform the Inland Wetlands Commission that the town is not the owner and applicant and does not authorize River Junction to act on its behalf, and that proposed improvements and water diversion is not within or from a town highway. In support of his request on behalf of his clients, the letter references a number of issues which have been a subject of significant discussion in the two inland wetland and watercourse applications of which Mr. Slater's clients are interveners and River Junction is the proponent. While it may be that the Board of Selectmen may wish to take formal action as requested by Attorney Slater, at this time I cannot recommend such action in good faith at this time. From what I can see of this letter, it was directed to the board with a courtesy copy to the undersigned. I see nothing that indicates that River Junction or their attorney was notified of this request. While the request may or may not have merit, it would seem to be a denial of basic due process to which effectively revoke action by previous First Selectmen without notice and an opportunity for comment by River Junction interest or their attorney. I would therefore respectfully request that the board authorize me to forward a copy of Attorney Slater's letter to the River Junction attorney and ask if they have any response to this letter prior to the board making a determination. In view of the tremendous amount of effort put in by the applicant, the interveners, the Inland Wetlands Commission, and town staff, I have difficulty in recommending that the board act on the unilateral request without giving the other party some opportunity to respond. While I do not address the merits of Attorney Slater's request in this advice, I would note so that all parties are aware of it, that the town has a road ordinance number 10-041, declared purpose of which is to regulate road work on existing and proposed streets to ensure safety and structural adequacy. That ordinance provides that the application shall be made to the board, and that the board is defined as the Board of Selectmen for the town of Thompson, Connecticut, or their authorized representative of the ordinance further sets forth a detailed procedure for board approval. Very truly yours, William St. Ange, Town Attorney. Since this was read into the record, it is public knowledge, and Town Attorney was made aware of that when I received this from him, and he will be forwarding a copy to Attorney Penny. You have other correspondence from Attorney Penny for your reading. Also, we have resignation from the Library Board of Trustees. Sally White did resign her position on April 7, 2016, from a 6-year elected position, effective on the 7th. That was turned into town clerk, and I was notified. Proper procedure for that is town clerk will reach out to Republican town committee, as that is the position that was vacated by party. When they come back with a recommendation to the board, we will then forward it up and appoint to fill that position. That is, and one more thing that I do have in correspondence. This is for your reading, Shana and Steve.
Thank you.
These are just some ordinances that the ordinance committee is working on. So we'll discuss that at the next meeting on that, so if you have time, read it. Just for note, I did see one minor error in it pertaining to the constable and how they're activated with the emergency management director. He's also looking at that as well to give some input, so we will have that Anybody else have any other correspondence?
I do not.
I think you covered everything I had.
Okay, very good. All right, bunch of comments. Let's see where I am on this. Been a busy week. Okay, we were advised, we had applied for a grant, Connecticut DOT Community Connectivity Program grant application that we submitted for. It has to do with pedestrian traffic and bicycling and so forth through the town, where they do an audit and a safety review and see how it affects and any recommendations. So they sent somebody out from DOT to look over the different routes that usually get that type of traffic. So this all came down very, very quickly. We got it late Monday. They are looking for, on this, different people in the town of Thompson, some safety people, to meet with the DOT person that comes down and go out and inspect the various routes and make comments and so forth. So we will be putting together a date. They did drop like 4 dates in the month of May, coming up very quickly, so we have not been able to reach out to any of the people that are on the various type of committees like trails and economic development, Leo the highway, because it's a full day of going around these routes and then coming back and conversing on it. So we will be putting that together. It's a grant, and they'll advise us what type of safety measures or improvements or possibly any type of grants that may be available, so. And this came out, a warning, it came late yesterday, and it's moving very quickly, so I will keep the board advised.
Thank you.
All right. The Gladys Green Phase 4, the final phase of the repairs upgrades to the Pineview courts, will be going out to bid within the next couple of weeks, and we will have a bid opening on May 24th at 11 a.m. here at the town hall. That's in finishing up the project over there with the final phases.
May 24th.
Yep, at 11 a.m. So the bids will be going out on that. Okay. Blaine Road footbridge update. We're still talking with the Army Corps of Engineers about getting that funding for that, and I have reached out to Congressman Joe Courtney from that level to see if he can help prioritize and get that done with a little effort. See if we can move that along, since the school has designed that, so it comes down to the purchasing and having the Army Corps do the construction over there. So that would connect that trail system around, so that is the current update on that. So we wanted to make sure it was a priority. Yukon engineering projects, let's see. Will be done for the town by, the engineering project being done for the town by Yukon senior project students. We'll be making a presentation on April 26th at Yukon at the engineering department. As you recall, projects include the bow ramp, the water sewer installation to the industrial park.
Extension, yeah.
Yep. And looking at the I-395 interchange, the industrial park, and the volunteer fire department redesign of that property over here next to the diner. Okay? So they're gonna be doing presentations on the 26th. It's open to the, anybody in town that wanna go down. Yukon, they do a great job in their presentation as a project, so that will be on the 26th. As soon as I get a time, I will notify the board. All right, so that takes care of that.
I'm sorry, that was
Excuse me?
May 26th, or this month?
April 26th,
April.
and it's still on schedule. I took care of that. We have that. Okay, I did go to Little League opening day, had a beautiful day, they had a nice crowd. Kids played. For a change, it wasn't cold, it was nice, it was great. Kevin can relate to that, because many times we've done that over the years. It was a great turnout. And the MC was Tommy Angelo. And my pitch was just a little bit outside, and he made reference to it and let me know. But it was a great day. Tommy did a great job, and everything went off well. HVAC study is coming to a completion. Should have a report on that in the next week or so. For the library. And that is it, I believe. Yes, it is. I think that covered everything. Anybody else have anything?
So while you were gone, we had a couple questions from some of the residents. One of them wanting to seek some clarification with regards to exclusion of boards and commission members. So I contacted Tom Hennick from FOI to verify in the FOI Act section 1-231, cannot exclude members of a board or a commission. In reference to the concerns and concepts of adopting a policy to vet companies doing business with the town, we did contact Old Colony and asked that they provide some documentation verifying that they're in good standing and up to date with all their taxes. But I do think that might be something that we wanna look into for the future, making sure that there is a policy in place when we're doing bids or grants and making sure all of our ducks are in a row.
Okay, on the Aquatic Road, we will be, I didn't touch on that one. Contract language was cleared by the town attorney. We will be setting up a preliminary pre-construction meeting in the near future between the engineer, the company, and us here. We will make sure, there is an addendum in the contract that we did make sure with a 30-day window, the opening and closing the bridge.
Okay.
Okay, there's also the timing of the start of the project, the way the current contract reads, that once it's complete, once it's signed, that they must start the project within 10 days and completion within 60. So that's in the contract, in the initial contract. With that, that poses,
I'll start within 10. That doesn't mean
once the
bridge
contract is
I mean,
signed,
the bridge closes in
Right.
10, but the closure will be no more than 30 days.
that's an addendum that was added, that it has to be
May I ask the question?
30 days maximum closed, went along with the detour and everything else that's associated with that. The contract language said that upon signing of the contract, they must start to work within 10 days and then complete with the window of 60.
Okay.
Okay, so that could be putting up railings and finishing,
Sure.
other things, other ones like open bridge. Correct. With that, we'll have to have an addendum, an agreement between us and the company, because we're looking at that window of mid to late summer, you know, when the buses and different things aren't going through.
Sure.
To time that, because if we sign a contract for May, they'll be starting, they'd have to be done by July 1st, and that's not in that window.
Right.
So we'll be working on that and discussing that with them, so. And they will be bringing in all of their bonds, their insurances, their the good standing with the Secretary of State, all of those issues.
Those requirements.
Will be coming in to ensure that they're good, even with DOT as a contractor.
Before you ask those questions, was there a window of timeframe
On what, Steve?
on how long it was gonna be closed and how long the project took?
That was an addendum that was written in February.
So it was already included? Okay, great.
It was added after when we met with the.
Oh, okay, so your question
We did,
precipitated that?
yeah, we had a meeting when we were doing the bid reviews and so forth in that timeframe.
Okay.
And that was one of the contentions, that we had to make sure that the 30-day window and that addendum was in there, and it's in the language of the contract.
You turned to me yesterday again. Was it your question that precipitated them making sure that we had that 30-day
Well,
requirement?
at the time when we were reviewing when we came down to, and we had awarded the contract,
Right,
when we had asked for the contract and everything to come in and different addendums and interest, we made sure that the engineering company made the contractor aware that the 30-day window of opening and closing was very critical to the town, and that addendum was added in.
was added in.
Yeah,
So,
with those
so
concerns.
your comments initiated that. I'm not saying-
During the conversations that we've been having
Okay,
on
good.
through the process, to make sure, but I made sure that it was there,
Okay, thank you.
so we're good with that. Go ahead.
Okay, now, the only other one is that, a while ago, I had, with the previous, administration, forwarded, some design for signage outside of the library, and especially now that we have the new curbing there, just saying, you know, no skateboarding, no loitering and all that, and I think that Leo may have ordered one, and it may be there, but we didn't know the placing of where we should put it, whether it be on the building, or if there's like an actual sign that we put it there, and so what was the best area or visibility, so if you could touch base with Leo and just see if he does have that sign, if we can put it up.
I believe, I did ask him about that, and it was previous to this, it was brought up about some signs, Allison did mention it. Leo does have a couple of signs,
Okay.
there was some concerns whether to put them on the light poles, you know, around the parking lot, or on the building, Leo was unsure. I told him to, you know, talk with Allison, figure out the best place and get
Okay.
it done. I don't know if he's gotten around to it with everything going on,
Okay,
but he did order the signs and so forth,
Okay.
so I will double check with him on that.
okay, thank you, that was it.
Anything, Steve?
I did attend the last special meeting of the trustees of the library, and some people might be happy to learn that they've voted to discontinue the payphone. Might be interested in that.
You might be interested.
So,
And that's interesting because that's in the community, so,
right. Well, I don't know if it is it or isn't, because it's behind the locked doors of the center.
it's budgeted in the community, but it's
They
in
want
our
to
budget.
recommend, I guess maybe recommend is the
A
right.
way of saving money,
Yeah, it's a way of saving.
and,
Yeah, they can't.
The logic behind that was, they had less than 70 uses of it for the last 12 months. They spend something like $900 a year. It seemed like it wasn't worth it, and the library indicated they would be willing, when people have a need, to assist someone using the phone.
and at Thursday night's, Board of
There was some-
Finance
there was some
meeting,
pushback, a little bit.
there was some pushback by the Board of Finance that they should retain it, even though it's limited usage, that, it can be of a, of the assistance
The
in need.
library, just the library, the library
They have
itself.
agreed to. I did speak with Allison yesterday on that subject, by the way, and because she sent me an email stating that they were reaching out to, another company to see if they
Oh,
could
see
get
if
the
they could
rate
get-
lower and so
right.
forth. And I think it's Pacific, whatever, or whoever it is. And I did mention it to her, I says, you know, it's a phone line that's going in. The operation of the phone is you put the money in and it works, in order to get the line up. You know, see if we can buy the phone, and, you know, pay for it, and we have Nextiva or Diversified or whoever, and work it, so she was going to,
See other options.
look at that, see if we can get it, that was what I threw out to her, so she was, gonna be looking at that. Cause if you go online, you can buy a,
You can do it for less than $900. no matter
yeah,
what.
without a doubt, you can buy a payphone and leave it in there, and, you know, Diversified's the lines, landline, and so, as long as it doesn't break, we're in,
Good shape.
we're in great shape,
Say
so,
$3.
exactly, so. So, I was surprised there was a little pushback by the Board of Finance, that did surprise me, but,
And that, by the way, that's the cost of the town. When you make a phone call from one of those babies, it ain't cheap.
oh no, I'm sure that quarter or half a buck or whatever it is.
It used to be.
Yeah, it used to be a nickel and a dime, now we're dating ourselves.
That's what they call it.
Hey.
Yeah, there's a,
Hey.
yeah, there's a few people that wondering what a payphone is, you're right, so. But, anything else, Steve? Okay. All right. Fun time. let me at least say it, Doc. Come on.
Say it.
Before you put your
Because
hand up.
I'm ready to go.
All right. Citizens' comments. Mr. Pimentel.
Don Pimentel, 40 Star Road. Can you repeat what you said, that Bill St. said? Because I'm just curious, I didn't actually hear everything you said.
The letter?
Yeah,
I'll let you read it after. if you'd
well,
like.
the reason I'm saying that,
I'd rather not read the whole thing.
Mr. Rawson is not entitled to that letter from my attorney to find out if you guys are the applicant or not. That's ridiculous. Either you're the applicant giving him permission, or you're not. I don't know Mr. St. Ange that well, but my point is, if he thinks about what he's just said, we have a fraudulent application from day one. Mr. Lanky didn't have the authority to do what he did. And now you're gonna tell me that we have to notify Mr. Rawson to see what he thinks of the fraudulent document? That doesn't make sense to me, Ken. I wish I was on that board so I could talk to Bill. What, are you crazy? That doesn't even make sense. It does not make sense that you have to notify him to find out if you're the applicant or not. If you denied his driveway permit, he can't get there. How can he have an application now in this situation that was bogus from day one? Marla should have looked at that from day one and said, you don't have the authority to do this on the last day of your office. We're talking the last day of his administration. And you have to ask Bill if you gotta notify Mr. Rawson. There's no one gonna convince me that he has to be notified. No way in heck. He didn't have to be notified when you denied the driveway permit. Why would he have to be notified to say, hey, you know that application you pushed through the system at the last minute before you left? Come on, that doesn't make sense to me. Secondly, I have an email from, that I received that Mary Ann sent out to the Town Planners Association. She had a question. She did this day after her mom passed away, and she came into work. The question was, for an inland wetlands and water course application where the ownership of the land under consideration is questioned, is there any court precedent regarding the Wetlands Agency denial of the application solely on the basis that the land's ownership is not clear, ignoring any consideration of environmental impact alternatives? This is the part that is wrong. She responds to them saying, can you respond offline to either myself or Marla Butts? It would be appreciated so we don't clog up your server. That's baloney. It's just too bad that they didn't listen to her and they notified everybody.
Can I have a copy of that, Don?
So I brought it for you today.
Thank you.
I will give everybody a copy in a minute. And my other thing, I don't know if everybody's aware that it took place last Friday up in the woods of Rhode Island, when Mr. Mann was videotaping and caught Mr. Rawson and his engineer altering the water. I've seen the video. I don't know if anybody else seen the pictures on Winnie Facebook. We have the video. My problem with that is, I called Rhode Island because he said on an interview at Winnie the other day that he had permission. So I called Rhode Island. I spoke to Chuck Corbett. Now this guy is in charge of the permits. Dear Mr. Pimentel, I have checked records in our database and there has been no permits for any work issued for River Junction LLC or Ray Nelson. This is not surprising. Permits cannot be generally issued to the owners of the property. I understand that in this case, the owner of the state of Rhode Island and Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management, Buck Hill Management Area, we have also not issued any permits to Rhode Island DM for any work in that location you identified. In general, any proposal to divert surface or groundwater to a different location would not be able to be met our review criteria and would therefore unlikely be issued any permit. The man's on radio saying he had permission. So I'm gonna hand this into the board as well. Tomorrow, we've already been 2 years. We either gotta craft or get off the pot. I mean, this is crazy. I've about had enough that tomorrow we're gonna spend another, whatever Mr. St. Ange gets for money. So I'm paying twice, and all these people in this room are paying. We probably given him, I bet you, close to $10,000. Someone's gotta do something, someone's gotta step up, and we gotta make a decision what we're gonna go forward here. Because this charade could go on another 4 or 5 months. And I just think it's wrong that these hearings are continuing with taxpayers' money on an application that should have never been done in the first place. So on January 6th, when we were all at that auditorium, it should have ended that night, knowing that Marla separated the applications. But we got an email from Mr. Rawson saying it was his idea, but he ratted her out and said it was her idea. And I don't see anybody doing nothing. Well, it's not November anymore, it's not December anymore, we're into April, Ken, 5 months. You've had enough to settle in and figure out what's going on and who these players are. And we gotta do something about it. I ain't making this stuff up. I didn't get caught putting leaves, I didn't get caught altering water, because I wouldn't do that. 4,000 feet up in the woods, he crossed state lines, that's a federal offense. He was curious, that's what he says in his article, he was curious. And something's gotta be done. And then he says in his article, it's about the Marines being able to climb and bird watching. He didn't think twice about that when he clay cutted 30 acres and took every natural resource off that property. All of a sudden, he's concerned about 15.7 acres of wetland. Well, I'm not buying it, and nobody in this room should be buying it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Mann?
Yeah, 15 Meadow Drive, Rob Mann. Yeah, when I saw Mr. Rawson in the woods, the first thing that hit my mind was him telling me he didn't have any access to his own property. Here he is, probably 2,000 feet into Rhode Island, on a piece of property that borders his property, altering water, diverting water, making it go into the woods off of the stream channel. And I don't know how old Mr. Rawson is, but I'll tell you right now, Boy Scouts can hike. If he can hike, they can hike. The Now Foundation can hike. The bird watchers. You know, you don't log property and cut down trees if you want to have bird watchers on 15.7 acres that border 22,000 acres of trails. If they want to hike, they can hike Buck Hill Management Area, the Boy Scouts, Douglas State Forest. It connects, it's the Mid-State Trail. Look up the Mid-State Trail online, anybody in here. The Mid-State Trail is like, it goes across the country for crying out loud. And that's just my comment for tonight. It's, you know, it's misleading. Deception.
Thank you. That's the last. Go ahead, Mr. Bear.
Paul Bear, Thompson Road. First, regarding the payphone, this issue came up years ago. It was investigated, the cost of the new payphone, voice over internet protocol, which I believe you now use in Town Hall. Could be used there. The payphones where you retain the money were accessible, $800. Numerous locations. They, for years, have decided they weren't gonna do anything. And to say the Board of Finance pushed back, I understood it was 2 members who didn't want to give it up. And if that's the case, this board should tell the 2 members they can each split it in half and write personal checks. You're real good at spending everyone else's money. Big spenders when somebody else is paying for it. They got silver spoons, and it's time for them to pony up if they want the town to keep paying. The Old Colony contract. If they don't meet the timeline, there are penalties. Is there a bailout clause?
There is penalties for it.
Is there a bailout clause that if things go sour, you can get away from, as the town of Southington did? Gladys Green, final phase. What is the scope of work on the final phase?
I think there's 80 units in there, somewhere thereabout.
What are they doing with 8 units?
They're going through the various sections and totally renovating them.
Because it was brought up before with the previous administration, about if you're gonna have walls and ceilings open, stub out for fire suppression, sprinkler systems, and stub it in. Now, it's coming. I can see the town end up in a couple of years looking for another grant to waste more taxpayer dollars to go back and retrofit units with sprinkler systems. There's a big push nationwide. for sprinkler systems. The previous first selectman, Mr. Lanky, had no idea how they worked, made misstatements in the public stating that once one goes off, they all go off, which is bogus. That's ridiculous. I mean, if he even thought about what he was saying, he would have known it was stupid. And they didn't push to do that in the bedrooms and the kitchens or the bathroom, the kitchen areas that they just remodeled. They could have stubbed the stuff out and had the piping's cheap, and come back in at a later date to just put in the controls and the control heads. We had somebody get killed down there. And I think a little foresight, instead of waiting for somebody else to get killed, because the fire service. That goes right around to the fire advisory committee meetings. Are they coming soon? It's now gonna be May. And they haven't done anything in a year, because their chairman isn't there. You have 5 fire chiefs. I don't think they have to have a chairman to meet. If they can go and decide people's life and safety, I think they can get together and have a meeting and deal with the charge that they were given originally in the first place. The Board of Selectmen, I've brought it up before about challenging the Transfer Station Advisory Committee to look into possible operational contracts up at the transfer station to see if it would be more fiscally advantageous. If it is, great. If it isn't, then you move on and say, couldn't do it. Kind of wanted to know if Steve's getting the info prior to the meetings in a timely fashion at this stage, because that seems to be a recurring nightmare. You can choose to answer or not. FOI, you've got an executive session coming. There are a couple issues that I sent off to Mr. Hennick, didn't get a response back. It has to do with, to discuss possible legal action. Well, the FOI section 1-200 states that it's pending legal action to be discussed. Not possible, maybe, we might think about it. And the other is regarding the discussion of health of a town employee. The employee has the ability to decide to have that discussed in open session, which means they should have been notified. I hope that's the case. And any record of who's going into executive session has to include everybody that goes into executive session. The last being,
In your reference to the FOI,
yes,
Mr. Hennick was consulted and the language came from him.
okay.
Okay.
Doesn't make them right all the time, but
All right?
I sent the Board of Selectmen copies of emails between myself and the new town clerk regarding the recordation of quitclaim deeds, land deeds, copies of them that was completed by the previous town clerk. It is against the law, rules, regulations to record copies of deeds without original signatures. If a company's doing a title search, they're gonna see those deeds and think they're appropriate and legal. They're not. This has been going on presently for about a month now. I sent you copies of the correspondence I got from the state library, municipal record section, and the state archivist. Along with, there was an attachment of a letter from the state attorney general's office stating the same. Not to record copies of deeds without original signatures unless they're certified copies. In the email, if you read it, they state, the archivist stated that you could not unrecord a document that's been recorded, but an attorney could draft a document to correct the situation. It is in the town has had it in their hands for a month. The email I got most recently was back from the town clerk, who had sent it off to the town attorney again, and it's still sitting there. The town attorney can draft a document and correct this error more cheaply than if I seek legal advice, my attorney corrects it and creates documents, and we file them, and I get a big bill. I'll be back at the town and you'll have another legal bill for litigation to collect what you could fix rightly without me having to jump through the hoops. The town caused the error, the town should fix the error. And it should be of a concern to town residents that copies of land deeds were recorded when it's a violation, and now you're sitting here doing nothing. You've had it for a couple of weeks. I expect something done. You could add it to the agenda tonight, make a decision, and direct the town attorney to draft the documents to fix the error, and it could be over and done with. Instead of myself having to pursue legal action, which is gonna entail more expenses to the town that the town does not need.
Thank you.
Chrissy, you want first?
Christine Campbell, 861 Thompson Road. I am sitting here, and I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I am baffled by Attorney St. Ange's letter. I'm baffled. You're our Board of Selectmen. This is our town of Thompson. This is not Alan Rawson's town. This gentleman, Don Pimentel, has property that he owns. This man, Alan Rawson, is looking to do all the wrong things for all the wrong reasons, and I don't even know why we are this far into this, and it's costing us with our attorney and everything else. How can the attorney say that you owe Attorney Penny the privilege of that letter? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. I'm baffled. I don't understand. Is Attorney St. Ange working for Alan Rawson in Putnam? Does he have other issues here? I don't understand what's going on, because the more I'm uncovering, the more I'm seeing, it's just disgusting what this man is getting away with. And secondly, I have been attending so many wetlands meetings, and I have learned so much. And one thing I heard, either Marla Butts or their chairman, chairwoman, somebody at the meeting said, if there is any deception in an application process, that application is immediately denied. Well, when Alan Rawson went up on that Rhode Island property and redirected that water course illegally, without anyone's permission, that's as deceptive as you can get. So I'm curious how tomorrow night's gonna be. I think I'm gonna bring a bag of popcorn to tomorrow night's meeting, because this is gonna get really interesting tomorrow. Thank you.
Wayne?
Yes, Wayne O'Brien, 108 Fabian Road. Ken, I got a question, because last administration was talking about several roads that were supposed to be repaved, and they didn't get to it. Now, we're coming up on end of this year, so that money was already allocated. Are those roads getting done, or they not getting done? Because I know Fabian was supposed to be one of them, and it hasn't been done yet, but it's been patched about 6 times already this year. So my question to you is it gonna get paved, seeing that the money was allocated the last budget season, before it closes out? Or has that money moved somewhere other than where it's supposed to be?
In order to answer you, Wayne, what happens is we look out to see and rate the roads that we think need to be done in a certain fashion, sequence, all right? From there, weather plays into it. If we lose a road, like we have in the past, Brickyard Road went, the money is redirected because of the immediate need of something else that becomes more required, all right? Currently, right now, Ridden Road is to be paved this spring, to finish that, and we have X number of miles of oil and chip sealing that is to be done. From there, I basically lost Linehouse Road is one of those that has come apart over the past winter. It's gonna have to get overlaid. We need to do a bunch of drainage work on Fabian Road. We've reached out for steep grants to get funding. The road is still a priority, but sometimes the money gets directed based on the needs of what is going on. And other roads that become more critical based on what's happening.
My only question would be is, if the money was already there to be done last September or October,
We have the flexibility of changing what we decide to repair.
have you been up on Fabian?
all the
You
time.
lost it.
All the time,
You lost it.
all the time. The main problem with Fabian Road is it needs drainage.
Not
A lot
only
of
does it need drainage, it's all cracked and
Yeah.
chipped and falling
You're-
apart.
You're correct,
It needs to be totally torn up and replaced,
yes.
like it was supposed to last fall.
And
But it
in
didn't
a perfect world where we can do it and it works out, we do it. And sometimes we have to deviate as other things come up and other priorities come into play. Okay, but it's still classified as one of the prioritized roads that need to be dealt with.
So my question to you is, if Fabian was classified last year, how did a road move ahead of it? Because there was 3 other roads that were with Fabian that were supposed to be done, and I haven't heard anything about any of those roads. So somehow, some roads have all of a sudden jumped over about 4 roads. So my question would be, who is deciding, well, you know what, I know those roads were supposed to be done last August, September, October, and November, because they were lost roads. But we got other concerns somewhere else. Let's move on somewhere else. How does that decision come up? Who makes that decision? The
It
guy
comes,
that, Leo, you?
that's a combination of the facts, Leo, myself, what is pending. As to what direction he may go in because of what the nature is at that moment. If I lose a road or something comes up, you send them over and do it. It gets prioritized. We're doing as well as we can. We know the roads are going, there's been talk about even bonding long-term out to get a bunch of roads done. Okay, any money that I do have right now rolls over because it is earmarked towards, comes from the LoCIP funds and the road maintenance funds, and that gets carried over. So we continue to do it. Wayne, we're trying.
I know you're trying, I do understand that, but I'm just trying to understand. It seems like if you're only kicking the can down the road and now you're gonna spend more.
I understand.
Okay?
Any, Kevin?
Thank you, Kevin Walsh, Wayne Road. A few things here, please, and work backwards. Personal experience in regards to roads and prioritizing which road gets done, so on and so forth. And yes, sometimes you have to make some modification. But one thing that you probably should have added to when you were asked as to what is the criteria to changing, many, many times it is the squeaky wheel that gets the oil. The people that complain the most will draw the attention of the people who make decisions. And we need to also incorporate to that, it all depends who's doing the complaining. If you've got some top guns, big shots in town that come down and scream and holler and jump up and down, they are going to be given an ear by the decision makers. That needed to be incorporated in regards to what the criteria is. So politics comes into this, let's not kid one another. When we talk about funds being needed for roads, be very interesting if we could go back to just December of 2014 when we had that public hearing regarding the status of Star Road extension, and then add up all of the legal bills that have been submitted to the town just on that one issue alone. Think of the money that we could have saved and put to roads if we didn't have to deal with this. And please, let's all keep in mind, that December meeting of 2014, we were told that yes, .339, they had documentation to back it up, and it ended up being a fraudulent document. We're having these public hearings in regards to water up there with a fraudulent document. Property owner, the former first selectman, the money that this town is paying because, and I'm calling it like it is, corruption, and the refusal of our leadership to address this corruption in an appropriate and timely fashion is almost verging on the disgusting. Kenny, you are ex officio of every single committee, commission, and board in this town, which means you have the right and authority to attend those meetings, and you have a right to express your voice, your opinion, as firmly as you see fit. The only thing that you don't have, Kenny, and you know this, you do not have the right to vote on an issue. You hear complaints from the folks here over and over and over again. I'm pleading with you to go to these respective appropriate boards, commissions, and committee and express the concerns that we have to them, and hopefully something can get done. Now, you talking about ordinances at your next meeting? Is that part of your commentary?
Yes.
Does the board anticipate taking any decision, making a decision to move these proposed changes on? Or is it just gonna be a discussion?
No, I gave them 3.
Yeah,
One has to do with the conservation, the inland wetlands, the
Yeah.
separation,
okay,
and one has to do with the constables.
okay, all right, all right.
And if the timing works out, when we go to town meeting for the, prior to going to referendum, we will deal with those if they're ready.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Those
The
are the
other
only
thing,
3 that we're looking at.
okay, so there's not gonna be a decision where you would wanna move it to either a referendum or a,
Those are done at town meeting.
perfect, okay, thank you. Some discussion at the Board of Finance workshops. I think that one of the individuals brought up the possibility of adding to the budget, Economic Development Director.
Yes, that was mentioned.
Okay, and when looking at the numbers, you're well into the 6 digits there, you know? And again, you start looking, we got roads falling apart, but yet we're increasing the payroll. If they really wanna push it, my question would be to the Board of Selectmen, it's your budget under the general line, component, I should say. I'm wondering whether or not you folks have any say in that in regards to, you know, letting them know. And if you have, okay, if you haven't, my concern here is this. Constraints are increasing and intensifying across the board. And we're finding out that there are folks, or whatever, we're starting to spend more money. If you're gonna have an economic development director, I'm asking the question, right out of the gate, do we need that and a town planner? You know, you're looking at $200,000 there, just between 2 people, when you bundle it all together. You know, come on, please. This is crazy. If you, one or the other. And regarding the town planner, I still have that same question that's been asked quite some time here now. Regarding the contract of the town planner, is there clauses in there that specifically address the issue of comp time? We were told for the longest time that yes, it was in the contract. I have heard from a couple of sources that it's not true. I'd like a clarification on that. Been talked about quite a bit. Kenny, your plate's getting higher and higher and higher with stuff, man. We'd love to help you out here, but you know, you gotta do something about these problems. You really do. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Last time, Paul.
Last time. Regarding the St. Ange letter, this board should come out and make a statement. It's an opinion from an attorney. I use the example over and over again. Bernard Madoff had an attorney. He had opinions. Didn't work out well for him. You have the Girl Scouts come here for permission to sell cookies. The Boy Scouts, the veterans to distribute poppies have to come before the Board of Selectmen. The road ordinance that you just read states the Board of Selectmen. It doesn't say the King Selectmen. And that was signed on the last day of his office by the king, the self-appointed King of Thompson. Everyone else has to come through here. You did it last week. The Little Leaguers have to come before the board. But all of a sudden, the developer come in and destroy a watercourse and wetland because the king signed a letter. There's 2 years of minutes I have yet to find in there where they gave him authority, the board gave him authority to sign that letter. And it says, or authorized person. He wasn't authorized. You should make a stand and say, it wasn't authorized, didn't come down from the board, it shouldn't be allowed. Porter Plain is a road that we've been hearing about getting paved, because it's, if you haven't lost Porter Plain, drive over it lately. Since Larry was in office, they're discussing about redoing it. You talk about bonding for roads, absolutely. You bonded $540,000 for somebody's screw-up up on top of the hill with the oil tank, when they hired somebody who wasn't authorized, didn't have legal existence to do business in the state of Connecticut, according to the Secretary of State's office. You bonded that out. You shouldn't have been paying for that. It should have gone to the insurance company and subrogate the claim. I have no problem bonding out for roads. They're falling apart and people's cars are taking a hit. The ordinance, if you're talking about splitting the Conservation and Inland Wetlands Commission, why are you doing that? You can't get members to fill these spots now. You should be looking at combining, less commissions, less boards, less. You can't get people to sit on these. You have 3 vacancies on inland wetlands. You have someone who showed up for a meeting so they could have a quorum the other night, who hadn't been to a meeting in 18 months, but yet he's still a member of the commission. That's not participation. You just need to address those things. Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Hold on. You have to look up, I was here. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Go ahead.
I just had a question.
Sure.
I know you're
Could
going
you
to.
state your name and
Oh, I'm
address,
sorry.
please?
My name is Christine DeRocher. I live on Fernwood Avenue in Towson. And I know you're going to address the related issue on number 7 in your agenda, but then you're going to an executive session. So I just wanted to ask, if Thompson has anything in their ordinances that would, to protect us, let's say, from an entity that would want to come into our town and do a nuclear or fossil-based fuel power plant. It's my understanding that Woodstock has something in their ordinances that has something to do with no nuclear type things. But I wondered if we had that in our ordinances, and if we don't, perhaps we need to consider that in view of what's been happening on 8 miles from us.
There's nothing that I'm aware of, other than what's in the zoning regulations.
I didn't know that would be economic development or inland wetlands or where that would come into, but that might be something for us to think about for the future.
Don?
Tom's mental voice over. I was just wondering if you guys could throw that, letter from Mr. St. Ange on other business, and I'd like to hear the discussion between the other 2 members of the board and yourself, or what the real opinion is of what you think of that letter, rather than just hand to Shane and hand to Steve, and then we don't know where we stand. Because I think it is your decision, it's not Mr. St. Ange's decision. It's an opinion. And it doesn't make sense for what happened in January to flip-flop and waffle, I should say, 4 months later. You guys need to discuss this, and you're the board. And you gotta do what's right. Are you the applicant or not? Tell it like it is, because I need to know one way or another, so I can move forward with what I gotta do. This is just crazy, I'm just being, pulled around like a yo-yo, and I'm sick of it. You need to make a decision, Ken. You wanted this job, you got the job, all I'm asking is to do the job. Thank you.
Last call. All right, if you remember going on to the public records policy, I did send you a copy of that. I did get a response back from Mr. Hennick. He did make recommendations to the policy. When you do have a chance, if you would read it. If you do not have any objections with it, I will have Marie update it, and we will bring it back just to accept the changes. These were, I gave that to Mr. Hennick to review and make his recommendations based on the past policy. And if you read it, you'll see what's highlighted, what's in parentheses, and his recommended changes. All right, so it's for your reading, not to be,
Yeah, let me ask,
Sure.
I had a chance to read this over. First, let me just a general question. This is access to public records policy. And it starts off by saying adopted by the Board of Selectmen on August 18th, 2015. I went back and looked, are there two of these? Because I saw one that was adopted on the 4th of August. Is there a second one adopted on the 18th?
I don't know, this is the one that was a record that we had in the office.
Because I went back and looked at the minutes, and I didn't find, went back to the 18th, I didn't see anything, and then I saw one on the 4th.
I believe that the issue was that we did not have on the document that we adopted, the date that it was adopted, so then we went back and we put on there that we adopted the policy, and then, under recommendation, I went in and put when we adopted it, and then resubmitted this copy to the first selectman's office.
On the 18th.
I'm not sure,
Yes.
because I saw that you voted, and the board voted on the 4th to approve access to public records policy on the 4th of August. So was there, was there a second one adopted on the 18th?
No,
Same document,
Same
just what
exact
you
thing.
said was readopted.
Oh, readopted
With
on
some
the 18th?
minor
Because I didn't
changes.
see anything on the 18th. Not that I did an exhaustive study, but I read the minutes, I didn't see anything. on
But
the
that's what you just said, it was same document, she added a few things and then
It was
readopted.
The
readopted on
only
the
thing-
18th? I'll
The
go
only
back and
thing
read
that
it
I
again.
added was when we adopted it, I believe. I think, I did make some changes, they were grammatical,
Okay.
that Kristen and I had noted
Okay.
on the one that we,
So it was, I'm sorry, so it was adopted, it was voted again on the 18th then, is that what happened? It was adopted on the 18th then, again?
I can go back and look at my notes. Whenever it was adopted was the date that I put that it was adopted. And I'm not sure,
Okay, so, but this is,
Why the
this
other
is the
date?
one, because this is the only one.
This is the one.
Yeah, it's the only
The
one.
date may be wrong, but this is the right, okay, that helps, I understand that.
So like I said, I did send it out to make sure that we weren't in violation of the FOI. That
Okay.
the information, and Tom Hennick came back from FOI with recommendations of omitting a few words, adding a few words, et cetera.
Okay, I didn't realize that was the purpose of his comments. Just a couple of very minor things that I noticed, and I didn't understand that was the purpose of his pages here. This talks about an HR director, which you don't have an HR director, is that right?
There's no official HR
As the
director.
First
So we
Selectman
just
and
wanna
or human
delete-
resources.
While we're doing that, should we delete those words? Is that appropriate, or no? Does any time?
well, it says and or, so the
Okay,
first,
all right,
I mean, it's totally up
All
to,
right,
I
that's
don't
fine.
care either way.
that's fine, yeah. fair
Yeah,
enough,
at the time
that's
we
fine.
adopted it, we,
And again, very minor point, it talks about, and I really wasn't looking at it from that perspective, that you're describing. Is there a difference between a town employee and a town hall employee? Are we trying to differentiate that? Okay,
Town
just curious,
employee.
because, okay, I just sort of noticed that.
is there
Maybe they
a,
were just
is there a
designated-
particular spot where,
Well, I
because
just
I can
noticed it
provide
said,
you with,
it just said town hall employee, and I wondered if we were trying to, if you went to the library, would that be a different thing?
well, because they had different policies, so we can't, yeah.
So-
We might not have, I think maybe the reason why that was in there then was to have it specific to the town hall.
Okay.
But if
Okay.
we say, town employees, then that also requires public works director, for example.
Yeah. So this does apply or doesn't apply to the town
What?
director?
I would like to know, where do we say town hall and where do we say town?
Well, I just noticed it in part C, it says town hall, again, I don't wanna
Oh,
nitpick
okay.
this. I just wondered why we say town hall employee, I just thought that it would apply to all employees, all town employees. Again, I just, just to be sort of
I
appropriate.
think because, I mean, I think when we did it, it was more,
You were probably thinking.
for the
it would be
municipal, yeah,
most-
for this
Most
building.
common, I would say,
Yeah,
probably
I
most
think that's what it
appropriate.
was.
And I did not understand, in that same paragraph, C, data will not be manipulated and provided in formats found within the existing policy concerning documents. I did not understand that sentence, the language.
Where's that, Steve?
Paragraph C, capital C. Data will not be manipulated and provided in formats found within the existing policy concerning documents. I just could not understand.
Where is?
The
where's
last sentence, I'm
concern?
sorry.
I know, then where does it?
Yeah, I'm not sure,
I don't know what we're
because
trying to
the
say
line
here.
above it was very clear that,
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
it's a PDF.
Yeah, that I
it's a
understood, but
Word
then-
document's a Word
And that
document.
sentence just, I couldn't, that's
Yeah,
what we're
found
trying to
within
say.
the existing policy concerning documents,
You
which
have
is
a
like
clarification?
the first.
It's in the FOI Act about,
Yeah.
you don't have to create records.
Right, yeah, sure, understand that, exactly.
Yeah.
But the sentence says,
Yeah.
it's hard to understand, we're just reading
It
it.
doesn't sound right.
Data will not be manipulated to provide information found within the existing policies concerning documents. I'm sure there's something we're trying to say, but just doesn't. say.
Well, this, again, this came out of, a lot of this was verbatim from the, I think the FOI Act.
Okay, well, again, I just had a hard time understanding that. I'm not sure what we're trying to
There's
say.
stuff in there. So, like I said, Mr. Hennick, back in December, I had said that I would forward this to him with, if he saw anything that was, not in with the FOI that.
Right, I think
we should do.
his look at it was a little different than, again, I wasn't sure why.
Okay. If-
Thank you
I
for telling
wonder
me.
if it should be not found,
Okay?
sorry.
We can go back and look, I mean, it's a valid point, of concern.
Sure, just,
Make the notation, forward it to Marie, and we'll see if there's any, previous copies. I don't know how long you worked on this, Shana, with, Kirsten?
I,
If you have some working copies?
yeah, I
Where
might have
maybe
some
a typo?
working ones, yeah. I'll see if I didn't edit the original one, but this was, I actually pulled this out. This document was based on, FOI as well as a city from another state actually, which just had a stellar policy in place that
okay.
I forwarded to the board and told them that I was looking to mirror that.
Again, I just.
So, yeah, yeah, no, point well taken, I mean, we can certainly,
And then under the fees section, again, from the class I took, there is a provision for scanning. And I'll remember the cost, if you can allow people to scan, and it's a minimal cost. This gets very complex. My head starts to spin reading all that, about the electronic copying, et cetera. But there is a way, there's an allowance that we can let people scan documents. It doesn't cost, it doesn't charge the individual very much. Now, there is a requirement that they have to use a special kind of scanner, which I don't even think is available anymore, but I think the general policy is to let people use whatever kind of scanner is available these days. And, the cost is,
I mean, there is a charge per page that we.
No, not for scanning.
No, I'm saying for a document that we can charge. As you
For
saw.
copying, yeah.
For copying,
Yeah.
and then, I know Paul's up on this.
You have to have a policy or ordinance set in place in order to charge for scanning.
Oh, okay,
It's in the
but
FOI
but
Act.
scanning is allowed. and-
It's allowed, but you have to have that policy in place in order to charge for that.
Oh, okay, and but I believe that the state policy is very specific about the type of scanner you can use, et cetera, et cetera.
It says hand scan.
Maybe, what I heard was a very specific type of scanner,
Right, well,
which I
if
think
I'll have to
is
look into the
scanning.
scanner.
not even available if I understand my
Right,
class
I'll look
right.
at my laptop.
I know that,
My class sort of said it's
yeah,
pretty much.
I know that,
Be more flexible than
Yeah.
that.
I know when they run it through the photocopier and they scan it and create a PDF and.
Well, there are hand
Well,
scanners, though, you
Yeah.
don't have to run through a copy, you can do a hand scanner, and that you can be allowed, so that, I don't see it trusted here, if I'm
But
mistaken.
the applicant that's requesting the documents could provide you with a, stick and say, will you scan these and put it on the stick or a CD, DVD format? And
Yeah,
you
that's
would-
possibly what I'm
you
talking
would
about,
charge
where
for
the person can use a hand scanner. and scan
yeah,
it.
this is,
It's kind
yeah,
of,
the fees only talk about storage devices and copying.
Right, it's pretty
Alright,
pretty
so
exotic, and it's a little out of date.
I'll look at-
So,
Look at scanning.
anyway, that was the other thing that I kind of noticed.
but again, the top sheet was to.
And now I understand, I
Okay.
didn't realize that was the.
Yeah,
purpose
that
behind it.
is the, okay. see that it wasn't completely, because it said from, I had asked her to put a note on top that it was from,
I saw that it was from
Yeah,
Tom, I
she-
didn't
she
realize
did it from
that that was
Tom, yeah.
why we were,
Um,
okay, fair enough.
I thought we had put a little bit more in, so that way you were aware.
Okay.
But it's for reading and
Sure. I
look
got
at the changes that he had made as suggestions within our policy, so that way we could review them, and while we're doing it, if you see anything
Sure,
else.
okay, thank you, I'll look at it again
And
from
we
that
can,
perspective.
you know,
Thank you.
tune this thing up. Okay.
Just so we're all aware, this does talk about a form that we, I'm not sure whether it's require or ask for, in terms of asking for documents in this, in our policy. We want to make sure that even though this does ask for this form, that's sort of a request. It should be made clear that it's a request, please use this form kind of thing, if an individual wants a copy of documents. But that's really only maybe as a courtesy to the town kind of thing. If somebody wants to ask for copies, they can submit whatever form they want, or whatever format they want. We should make it kind of clear that there's no, it can't be a requirement that they do it on our form kind of thing. That would be a violation of the state law. So we don't want to mess things up by saying you gotta use a Thompson form.
You said that
That
you
would be a
looked at this
violation.
though?
Excuse me?
You said that Tom looked at this, did he mention?
He read it and made the changes that he saw that he had recommended.
There's nothing wrong with having a form available for someone who wants to ask for copies, but we can't make them use our form. If they want to submit it on a napkin, they can submit it on a napkin.
Well, because it says the town of Thompson has developed the official public records request form for the convenience of the
Yeah,
citizens.
it doesn't say you have to, but I think we maybe want to make that clear, you don't have to use the town of Thompson request form.
I would look in the FOI Act to verify that we can't,
We can't, I promise you.
because town halls have procedures and paper trails that they also have to have on file, so I think that's where that concept came from.
I'll look at the law and let's see what's in there. Yeah, if it needs a clarification, we'll reach out to that form. All right, so send your comments and stuff, you know, through email to, direct it to Marie, and that'll work out well. Okay, the Brownfield Grant Award for 929 Riverside Drive. We did meet, we interviewed three, I did give you a copy of that. We did interview three companies, and in quite in depth. And the recommendation from the committee was to offer the position to CNE Associates. It was a tough decision to make, and there were two companies that were very qualified in doing it, and the board leaned towards this one with the familiarity of cleaning up the other site and addressing the concerns that the town has, and having the grand picture of what we're trying to do with it in their, you know, in their presentation and so forth, recognizing our needs, you know, to move that project along. So with that, what I would like the board to do is to, based on the recommendation by the committee to award, and I do have a motion written for that, and I'll read it, I'll make it, we can go from there, have discussion. I would make a motion to authorize the first selectman to award the Brownsfield grant contract to CME if everything appears to be in order upon final review. discussion?
Do you know how much the amount that they
It was 218, something in that area for the project at 920.
And do you probably, I've attended only one of their, two of their presentations, right? It was early in the process.
Yeah.
What, timeframe?
As far as what the completion of this, a lot of the things, I honestly don't remember, Steve, I wish I could, but they did say that, they do different facets of it, and they try and do it in conjunction, while they may be doing some, because this is a building where we had nothing over there, so there was a lot of moving around and stuff, but over here, they would be bringing in the structural person, the lead paint, the hazmat, and doing it as a, just because it wouldn't preclude, say, the architect or the structural or the, hazmat checking asbestos and so forth from working if they're doing phase one. I mean, there's certain things that they can coordinate
Okay.
and expedite the process and move it along. So they were gonna be working in that fashion. So that worked out very well. So, any other discussion on this?
I'll take the recommendation.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, I did forward the board, and I guess it came up during the last meeting, the Burville Mega Station Power Plant. What I have done, because I'm sorry, I forgot what your first name was. Christie?
Yes.
Christie and Heather did send me a letter, which I did forward to you, the board. From there, I did reach out and speak, and you have it, I spoke with Paul Rosselli on the 17th. He does some of these public forums, he's a, can you have the information?
I spoke to him also.
Oh, did you? Good. Great. You can probably give me the, elaborate if I miss something that, they're part of the, if I remember, they're a conservation,
Land trust.
land trust. And they look at it from both sides, and they go out and do the public forums and do the pros and cons of the project and try and put a complete overview of. So they are willing to come out, do it in public versus a selectmen's meeting, do it in the public, like the library or whatever. They hope to get, as many people there as possible. Possibly the company may come, may not come. But they try and educate the public on the pros and cons and what it does. So he would be more than willing to come by if the board so chooses to do that. I got it on my desk what days are more available, if the board chooses. His schedule is quite busy, with a lot of this going on. As in Heather's letter, there was 2 public hearings that were coming up at Burville, one May 10th, and I don't remember what the other one is.
May 23rd.
May 21st. That is 23rd, that is coming up as well, so that people can go there and attend. I did reach out, I did speak with Heather, and what I did was, is I talked to, I called our Connecticut DEP, and speaking with a gentleman by the name of James Grillo, which you also got the emails from, which has to do with the permitting and so forth on the project. And Connecticut is unaware of currently what Rhode Island is doing. He was gonna reach out and see what he could get for their process, because at a certain time in the process, they usually notify the neighbors, the neighbors, sort of to speak. So he does expect to be notified at some point, but he has contacts. He was gonna try and gather some information to see where they are in the process and so forth. What he did tell me was that the requirements for these plants are federally regulated and very stringently regulated, because we do have one right in Killeen, just after the Putnam line. And there is a set contaminants, the particles that they can emit and so forth are very stringently regulated. It's gotta go through the siting council, that meets the requirements, and then it's left up to the feds and they control it. So, I mean, people can express and so forth, but it's kind of similar to what we have here in the state. If you've got proper zoning, and if it's the zoning requirements and meets the obligations, and the thing, gets approved. But that depends if the land is available. I mean, there's a lot of other issues that can derail a project, selling of the power, there's a lot of various things. And it's been going on about a year. So, it's pretty much where I got. Just as a side note, the state of Connecticut is in the process of expecting another plant to be opened up right next to the one, an application coming in on the Killenly Industrial Park.
Really?
Yes, a plant in the 700 to 800 megawatts.
This is a gigawatt.
The 1,000 is gigawatt.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little less than this one, but they're proposing receiving an application for that as well, and if it fits the requirements and so forth, goes through the process. So just throwing that out, that there was an application that was received on that, and that was in the Norwich Bulletin. I don't remember the date that he had said, but it went in the bulletin as because it has some public notice and so forth, so it had gone out, and they're expecting that to come in. So it appears that we may be getting an application for one just down the street, so to speak. So there will be issues coming on. And basically, that's where I'm at the moment with the information that I've got.
Thank you.
If you can elaborate any further.
No, that sounds very similar to what I found as well. This organization sounded more than just a anti. They seem to have understood there are two sides to this, always are. But they had definitely some things to say about this might not be the best place for this, and they had some good points to make. And is it your daughter's letter?
Yes.
Very nicely done, thank you very much. That was great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess there's a battle to be fought here.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
There's a lot of things that have got to line up to get this to come to fruition. So, there's a lot going on with it. And that's the latest that I have on it.
I would say if you can send us the days that he has available and see if we can find a time that's good to have him come and do the presentation. If you said you had those dates.
There were basically days, I think one was a Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, something to that effect. There was certain
We
days.
should also see if the company would also be able to.
Yeah, once we have that date, we should extend an invite.
To both sides, not that these guys are necessarily, again, I didn't get the feeling they were totally one sided.
No, they said they approach it in a balanced area.
So I felt pretty good about talking to
He
them.
says that the other forums that they've had, the company has chosen not to speak. They just attend and,
Did not participate.
did not participate.
But nevertheless, I think there should be extended
Oh,
invitation.
sure. I will see what he can, and I would have to think that the appropriate place would try and get it done at the library. I think he figured, I don't know if you got the same inclination from him, it was not a short program, 15 minutes, it was probably hour and a half to 2 hours. With,
At the feeling.
with the input from the audience and questions and that type of participation. So, we can, I'll see what he has available and we can see what we can set up. And we'll have that done. That's what I found out in very short,
Thank you.
short order. Okay. Where's my agenda?
Executive session.
Here it is.
This is a question, could I suggest that you might want to put it out on the website or whatever avenues to see if you could get some feedback about how many people would be interested? Because they may overrun the library. We may end up
needing the
we
school
could-
auditorium.
Maybe we could beg permission to use the taxpayers' auditorium out there. But that way you may get some feedback.
I think for some reason when I was talking with them, they've had as little as 30
They
people.
had very few, their turnouts were very small, is what I.
Yeah, to around 100 people.
Just a suggestion.
I'm just saying, that
And
based
that's
on,
the town where it is.
yeah, that was the numbers that they
I
were.
got the feeling.
So,
They may get more coming up.
Possible.
if we publicize it and get it out between the radio and the website and so forth,
You did tell me that at the meetings I've had, the residents of Thompson, as well as other
has it been
towns,
something?
have.
'Cause he did-
Yeah.
Oh, good. He did.
Oh, I have attended, I should say.
That's very good.
And may I add just one thing?
Sure, go ahead.
On May 10th, they were saying that they said bring paper, you know, if you have any written thing that you have to express yourself, to bring it to the meeting, and if you don't get a chance to speak, they will still include it in the record. So,
Oh, so you can prepare a,
right, so you could prepare a statement, and then you could just.
that is on the 10th and whatever it was, the 20,
Third.
The 23rd, or probably,
Yeah.
on the 23rd,
up in-
but
to-
I'm
to
gonna
your
do the
left.
10th.
And I will ask Marie to put that up on the webpage, publicizing the two hearings that are up there as well, the 10th and the 23rd. I'll have her put it up there that they can bring
The
written
tenth is in the
testimony.
Burville Middle School.
Yeah, we'll put up the
And
two
the other one is
locations.
the high school,
Yeah,
so we're not at the same
There's
location.
one.
Two different locations.
Yeah,
both
one's in the
ours.
middle, one's in the high school.
Yeah, the tenth is in the middle school.
I'll have Marie put that up. And if I get anything more from DOT, I'll pass that on as well. Okay. All right, I need a motion, I'll make a motion to go into executive session with the Board of Selectmen, Steve Shaner and myself, to discuss the three topics here. Discuss possible legal action by the town to protect rights of the school hospital, possible property purchased by the town, and discuss health of town employee.